What is up, and welcome to another episode of the SuperCoach Experience podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Savage, the coach of the Savage Turbos, and we're here to do a team reveal for Grant, the coach of the Pretenders. How are you, Grant? Haven't seen you in a while.
Nah, it's been quite a while, mate. About 1 2/3 beers, I reckon. So not too bad. Not too bad.
We're here for your team reveal. We've been meaning to do this for a while, but probably the best week to do it just after the team list drop and before round 0. How do you feel your team's shaping up?
I'm not the biggest changer of players, so I sort of have stuck with guys for a bit. I've probably got a couple of placeholders in here, but I'm pretty confident this year. I just think there's so many cheapies. There's so many options for cheapies, and if it all goes wrong, there's so many sideways options. My intent is just to use as many trades as I need to early on, and I'm not scared to do that. So I'm confident in my team. I'm confident in my guns. What happens after that? Well, let's see.
Are you locked in?
I won't be locked into this team.
Yes.
There's no way, purely because
Round 1.
It's a split round. If today was, or if I'd just seen team lists for all 8 games, I reckon I would be.
You'd be close to locked
I reckon
in.
I'm pretty confident. I've gone into many other years a lot less confident than I am right now.
Sweet. And now I have Cleary in my team. I feel a lot more confident, to be honest.
Good.
Awesome. So who are you starting with at hooker?
So at the moment I've got Crossland and Sandon. Crossland impressed me in the trials. Took some minutes out of the middle rotation when Brayley was on. Played quite big minutes. I think there's a number of guys in that price range that I hope I get right. I'm not going to make that decision this week. I'm not going to take an Owen Paddy. I'm not going to take a Starling at the moment. I'm not against any of those sorts of guys, but I want to carry the decision to next week when I think there's guys like Mamazoulos. What do Para do? No one knows what they're going to do yet. I'm confident in Crossland. I think he's going to go well because they've told Brayley basically. Unfortunately, he has to go. They don't really want to get rid of him, but he has to. I'm confident in Crossland, and Sandon is Sandon. I'm not going to talk to that. And
he's about the price where it's kind of helpful as well.
I can go sideways to any of those guys because Crossland's basically almost the most expensive. I think Hand's a bit more, but it's like $8,000.
Who's your front row?
I have Terrell and Hawes starting, and I've got Tino and Ben Takura as my cheapie there. I think that front row is pretty self-explanatory. We've seen that Hawes is starting this week. I was pretty confident in him. I think it's pretty self-explanatory.
Yep. Tino on the bench. Yep. Can't fault that at all. They're pretty high-owned players. So.
Just got to hope I don't go survive this bye when other people have someone else. But they might have Dylan Lucas in their back row who's going to miss in round 4, or Eli Katoa in their back row. Everyone's going to have swings and roundabouts with the buys. We all have the same rough number of buys throughout the year. And Ben Takura, I wouldn't normally talk about my 4th front rower because it doesn't matter too much. A lot of people have Royce Hunt there. I think Ben Takura has the most upside of anyone there. I don't think he has the best role to start. He may not even start, and I may have to change that. But he, at least, you're guaranteed that whether it's through injury or origin, will play at that point of the season with no Carrigan and Haas. And with Kobe Hetherington, the starting lock, I think that actually helps him.
Yeah.
So
awesome. Second rowers.
I've got a pretty deep second row at the moment. I've got Preston, Gilbert, and Seyfarth. And then I've got Tuolangi, Wong, and Katonga, although I've tossed up a number of options in that 232K range. But there'll be a 232K player as my 6th.
Yep. There's obviously the guys, Katonga. I like the look at Katonga SuperCoach-wise, if he gets a spot.
Yeah.
You've got Preston, Gilbert.
And Seyfarth as my starters.
I think we've talked about Seyfarth a little bit, but Gilbert, we haven't really been obsessed with him. What are your thoughts on him there? Was it the trials?
I watched Gilbert move from an edge, even an origin edge, into playing lock 2 years ago, and I think he's a very good footballer. It's no shock to me that in their main trial before round 1 that he's been named. It's nothing against Max Plath. I think he's excellent as well. They just can't both play lock, and neither of them are props. So Plath's been pushed to an edge. Is it an experiment? Is it long term? I'm happy to gamble on it. He played 40 minutes straight on, or late 30s on the weekend, and his base power was exactly what it's always been, right around that early 0.9 to 1 ppm.
He had 40 points in his first half, which is ridiculous.
And so my theory was he'd done enough by halftime. He's similar to Tino. That he got the minutes they wanted him to have, and I think in round 1 he'll play closer to 55 or 60. Maybe not 60, 55 I'll be happy with.
Yeah, I like it. Seyfarth, yeah, pretty happy. You happy with him in the trial?
Very.
Did the trial sell you?
No, I had Seyfarth the whole time. I think that Seyfarth finished the year playing 80 on that edge. Bateman gone permanently. I think he's pretty much locked into big. I don't actually. The good thing is at his price, I don't think with his work rate, he doesn't actually need 80. So if someone does play some minutes, I'll take 60 to 65 minutes because he'll score probably over 50, and he's only at 435k.
Yeah. Halfback.
Yep, I just convinced you to do the same thing. I've got Cleary and Duffy at the moment.
I got exactly the same. Very popular combo, I would assume.
We've talked about it today that maybe with all these cheapies appearing, that Duffy isn't a must, and I'll touch on some flexibility that I've got coming up. But at the moment, I've got Duffy. I don't see anything wrong with him, but that could change next week with team lists. Cleary must.
Yeah, 5'8".
I currently have Metcalf and Brown, and I love Dylan Brown in this contract situation where he's trying to earn every extra dollar he can. I think he's the type of person. Sorry, that's harsh. I don't know him. He strikes me as the type of guy who is so confident in himself and so sure of himself that he will come out. He's come off the ACL thing. Worried me in the preseason, the partial tear. That trial in round one, their first trial, did not look like he'd missed a beat. Fast, strong. He's going to be with Moses back. I think it helps him. We've seen that in his stats. He's a must, and Metcalf is Metcalf at the moment. I think there's actually a lot of 5'8" options starting to appear. We saw Chanel Harris, Tavita. It's interested me, but I don't think anyone's as safe as Metcalf. I think he's going to run that team. I think he's got the keys to the kingdom. I think he's a lock for me.
Yeah, he's a 5'8", but yeah, he's a lock. Who's your centre wing?
He's not Dylan Walker, is that what you're saying? My centre wing at the moment, I've got Garrick, Marzu, Skelton and Brimson. I've then got Toya, Finau and Perdue, who I think most people will have. But yeah, Garrick, Marzu, Skelton and Brimson. The combination that I was talking about before or alluding to is I don't actually have to get rid of Duffy for another half option, and I don't even have to get rid of him for another 5'8" option or hooker option like most people would with Sandon's flexibility. I can actually, if something goes wrong next week or team list change, I can go Duffy down to a centre wing if there's a cheapie pop up or something like that. Shibasaki we were talking about, because I think, I know for a fact Brimson's going to get that 5'8" duel because Foran's just torn his bicep and he was already not going to. The way Foran was speaking about their halves was as though it was he's now a mentor for those guys and he wants to help them. Brimson looked electric. I cannot start with Kinney or Campbell with my current structure. Campbell I can't afford. Kinney, I have told you I would. He's the first guy I want. I want to go Iongi to Kinney. We'll touch on that. But I'm actually thinking maybe to move Brimson up to 6 and Brown to 7. And if I need a cheapie. So then that way I don't have to. I'm not locked into Brimson being a centre.
Yeah, I've actually got Brimson in my side as well. Yep. Love him at centre wing at the price at 539. I've actually got a few 500k guys that I think I need to get rid of one of them. I do want Jack Williams, but damn, my side looks good without. I want Dylan Lucas as well. What are your thoughts on skipping Dylan Lucas?
I can't go with my side, Marzu, Lucas and Ponga. They have a round 4 bye. It's too much. The only way I can is if I get rid of Preston for Lucas. It's a possibility. I'll make that decision at another time. But Preston, I think, just has a little bit more excitement for me. And maybe that's just the fact I feel like I've got too many nights.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think there's a reason to go against Lucas. I think Lucas is excellent. He's a great footballer, and I wish I actually, if I find 100k, will go Marzu to him. I think Marzu's ceiling's higher, but early rounds, I'm happy to start with Lucas and get Marzu if he looks good.
Yeah, sweet. And your fullbacks?
pretty vanilla, mate. Missionary with the lights on, I think, unfortunately. Tommy, KP, and Iongi.
I think a lot of people's fullback kind of combinations, or actually not even fullback and flex combinations are very similar, but can't fault it. You've obviously had the luxury of having Tino on your bench for round 1 and Brimson, and I think Iongi's allowed that.
Yeah, that's exactly. So I've just got to work out whether, like, I've probably got a lot of depth in my second row, and I've got Tino, and I've got Brimson. Do I need all that? Could I? Because at the moment I've got dual cheapy hookers, although they're not, it's not Sandon and Pakes or something. It's not bottom dollar, so I've got some flexibility there. But I've got Duffy, dual hookers, and Iongi. My concern has been that that's too much. What do you reckon? If you were giving me a bit of surgery on that team, do you think having all 3 of those spots as sort of cheapy options is too much? If I've got 2 dual hookers and Duffy and Iongi, is it too much?
Yeah. I think that was my kind of speaking to Timmy or Mikey early in the season. I think our thoughts were, if you're going double cheapy hookers, then you've got to probably have at least double gun halfback or double or gun fullback. I think that's where you've got to go. I think you've got to have, although I think last year we saw that centre wings early killed it, and you've kind of got to go them. But at the same time, it is a different year. There is centre wing cheapies available, so maybe sacrificing a centre wing could be the way to go in order to just have cash up your sleeve, because these are genuine cheapies that can do well. So yeah, I guess tactically, it's pretty hard to decide where to go, because I think we always try and carbon copy what happened last year. I think it's a new year. We've got good cheapies. Yeah. So yeah, in my opinion, although Iongi and Duffy, I think they're going to score well, so it could be a different year.
As I said, look, I've got flexibility in the sense that, because we all do, right? Iongi, you can move him to flex, because you're not going to start with him in flex purely because you're not going to captain or vice captain him over your other 2 gun fullbacks, assuming you got 2 gun fullbacks. Iongi can be traded for anyone because you can trade to flex. Duffy, for me personally, can be traded to either or any of hooker, halfback, 5/8 or centre. And my dual hooker cheapies are up in the air a little bit. I've probably overspent a little bit in 2RF on like midi guys. If someone I don't really want Gashevsky and Katonga or something like that. I feel like that's just dead, like too much dead weight. But yeah, I'm happy with the layout and the structure. I would prefer to probably have one more gun, but I've gone like a Dylan Brown and 4 centre wing guns, where a lot of teams would have used that money to go a second cheapie or a cheapie 5/8 and a cheaper 4th centre wing. So it's not like it's not like my money's gone up in the air. It's not like I've got 500k sitting in the bank and I'm just not spending it. It's just been used in a different way. I don't know if that's the right tactic, but first year with flex.
Yeah, I guess like for me, I'd probably nearly consider moving Tino up for Preston and then getting an Afahu White in there. Just because, but then again, so early on, stacking up I don't know, is it stacking up the pack that's going to help, or is it getting gun centre wings? I don't know. But nice team reveal. Yep. I think people will enjoy listening to that. And I'm sure if you're in the Patreon or the Patreon shop chat, people will know if you're locked in or not.
I'll try and make sure that I drop any changes for everyone.
Sweet. All right. Thank you for coming on.
No worries,
and good luck with the year.
See how we go.